Tonight we're discussing Parsha Nasa. It's the second Parsha, second chapter of the book Bamidbar. It has got 176 verses, Pasukim. It's the longest one in Torah, actually, I think. And it's always read either before or after Shavuot, which is the receiving of the Torah. And to me, this is an indication that there is really something to learn here. That it's really an important parsha, important, like everything in Torah. I must admit I'm saying the same thing for just about probably any parsha, because everything is important in Torah. So Nasa starts with the another continuation of the census of the Levites, and which are counted from the age of 1 month and up. And altogether the Levites counted all of them, 22,300 of them. It clearly describes what kind of work the Levites supposed to do in the sanctuary, in the Mishkan. And they do the actual active duty between the age of 30 and 50, and before 30 they are undergoing training, and after 50 they get a desk job or become teachers and train the other younger Levites how to do the job. So the total actual active workforce of the Levites between the age of 30 and 50 is counted, and there are 8,580 of them. Family Kahath, there are 3 families. Family Kahath, 2,750, Gershon, 2,630, and Merari, 3,200. All up. That's it. So we know exactly how many Levites were on active duties when the Mishkan was inaugurated, and you know how many were involved in transporting and guarding the Mishkan. Then the Parsha switches to the story on the unfaithful, wayward wife and the Satah process, where if a wife is suspected by the husband that she is unfaithful to him, he has the right to take her to the Kohen, to the priest, and she undergoes the process of the Satah test. What that is, it's a special water which is mixed with the dust from the floor of the Mishkan, and a special piece of parchment is written the name of, on which is written the name of Hashem, is dissolved. The writing is dissolved in that water, and then she must drink that water. Now, if she was really unfaithful, she will die in immediate death, and it will not be pretty, really. I don't want to describe the details. And if she was faithful, and her husband's accusations were sort of not substantiated, then if she had no children, she will have children, she will conceive. If she had difficult labor delivering children in the past, her labor will become much better, much easier, and so on and so on. As a matter of fact, it's a well-known story that Hannah, which eventually was the mother of Shmuel, the prophet, right? Hannah initially didn't have any children, and she was actually praying to God, and she was a prophetess in her own right, and she was really saying to God, Hashem, if you don't give me children, right, I can force you to give me a child. What I will do is I will lock up myself with another man which is not my husband. So my husband will have theoretically the right to suspect me in being unfaithful. So I will undergo the process of sata, and nothing will happen between me and that man over there. So, and since I have managed to go through the process of sata and survive because I was faithful, because I will be, she knows that, you will have no choice but to give me children, because that's the law. And she was absolutely right. And Hashem actually gave her a child, Shmuel, Samuel, one of the greatest prophets in Jewish history. And so you can see that this is a very important process which clarifies basically whether the person, the wife, was sinful or not. By the way, you know that the thing is that even if the wife was sinful but the husband was unfaithful as well, the process wouldn't work. So, you know, it means that in that case, God is saying basically, if he was sinful and she was sinful, why should I punish the poor woman? You know, if the husband wasn't really good enough. You know, and now our perception of what is sin, and you know, generally we perceive sin as a Christian thing. It's not a Christian thing. Sin is a sin. You know, when you defy the laws of God, when it's a sin. And different people perceive it differently. Some hedonistic people will say, oh, this is fun, to sin is fun, you know, to enjoy and to be unfaithful, and it's exciting, and it's a new experience, and a pleasure of the body, and etc., right? And the others will say that it's terrible. Well, what Torah says about sin, that it's stupidity. It's a spirit of folly. A sin is something which is very, very silly, and sin is something which Adam actually brought into this world when he sinned first time with the apple. And that's why we having an ongoing issue. You know, angels never sin. You know why? Because they know the consequences. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, very simple. If you see a fire in front of you, would you willingly step into that fire, knowing the consequences that you will burn to death? Of course you will not. Well, the angels know exactly the same thing. They know that if they sin, they will be punished because they will step out of their reality, and the consequences will be severe. So they're not stupid, they're not silly, and obviously the angels never sin. Well, enough about this. Now, then the Parsha switches from sin to saintliness, to Kiddushim, to a high level of spirituality, because it starts talking about a Nazir. What is a Nazir? A Nazir, we read in the Torah that a Nazirite is essentially somebody who has taken upon himself the promise, the voluntary prohibition beyond normal levels, beyond the letter of the law, when he or she says that he will not drink wine, he will not consume any products related to grapes or based on grapes. They will not, the Nazirite says that he will minimize his pleasures of the body in every respect, and can make all sorts of different promises which for a period of time he or she will not enjoy those pleasures. You see, this is very similar to what the Christian nuns do when they going, for instance, into monasteries, and they basically remove themselves from the physical life, from the pleasures, and from some of the calamities of physical life. Judaism doesn't really accept that for a lifetime. However, in Parsha here, we're discussing what the Nazir can or cannot do. Normally, in the days we're talking about, a Nazir would promise not to drink alcohol and not to enjoy sex, so let's say for 30 days, right? And will not be subject to any close proximity to a dead body as well, right? So it means that even if his or her mother or father, parents die, he cannot go to the funeral. And they cannot cut their hair. That's another issue. The most famous Nazir we know about is Samson, right? And we know the story that he was blessed with incredible powers, physical strength and physical power. And only when Delilah betrayed him and cut his hair, this is when he lost his physical power, right? And he was a Nazir basically for a lifetime. Well, now, so we have got description already in this parsha. We have got the description of the Levite family, census, and then the wayward wife, and then the Nazirs, and then the parsha is talking about all the tribes again bringing their presents or their donations to the Mishkan, right? The princes offer all of their wealth, basically, but the actual offerings from each of the 12 tribes are exactly the same. 130 shekels of silver, the trays and all the different vessels, etc., gold and so on and so on. But each one of those 12 tribes offers exactly the same offerings, brings exactly the same items, but each one of them brings it on a separate day, and each one of them is fully described in the Nasa Parsha. Why? There are so many different aspects of life suddenly shown here again. And the discussions of the Levites conducting their services, and then the wayward wife, and totally somehow not related, and then Nazir, not related, and then there are the 12 tribes with their offerings for the Mishkan. How all of this, why all of this is in the same parsha? That's a natural question. It's one of the two which I want to discuss a little bit. Levites doing physical work, and each family carrying the curtains and the flooring and the pillars and the ceilings and the coverings and all of this, and the utensils of the Mishkan, as well as the Levites carrying, packed by the Kahanim, the utensils from the Holy of Holies. How is that related to a wayward wife, a Nazir, and then the 12 tribes? It's a natural question. Well, first, Torah is telling us that physical work done by the Levites is part of the mitzvot, is part of the service to God, and is absolutely necessary for us to do physical work, because by serving Hashem in this way, direct way, like Levites do, or beautifying the world, or helping others and doing mitzvot physical, most of the mitzvot is physical, we making this world a better place. We we beautifying this world. We helping the other nations to make their world better. And that's one of the most important aspects of Jewish life, to bring the light of God to the physical world, to this world, and to help the physical world with the better ways of doing things. And that's what we do. Well, then, okay, so, all right, let's say Levites we understand, but what it has got to do with the wayward wife who is sinful? Well, this is a story of a trust, faith between people. A husband suspecting his wife, who has been faithful actually, is not a very nice thing. So, and as a consequence of this, if he, the husband, wasn't really very faithful, nothing, so he will never find out if she was or she wasn't. But on the other hand, if the husband was faithful and she wasn't, then the consequences are severe, and so on. But Torah is telling us that life is not an easy flowing process. We make mistakes, we will sin, we fall down, we may do something wrong, and then we can be given a chance, and we find our way up. We get up, we wipe off our face from the dirt, and we get going again. In Russia, they used to say, for one, the two people who were not beaten are worth much less than one who was beaten up. Why? Because in the difficulties of life, when we make mistakes, we learn. We learn, and hopefully in the process, we become a better person. And that's why the wife who was faithful is actually blessed by God with children, and with the easier labor, and with easier pregnancy, etc., etc. So, we're learning something here. And then there is the story of the Nazirim, where the Nazir basically goes above all laws, above all requirements, and becomes nearly like a saint. So what Torah is telling us here, that you can be anything you want to be. You can learn to become more spiritual, you can move yourself closer to God, and you can become a different person. Every one of us can. It's only a question how much you want it, how much you want to achieve it. And then we come into the 12 tribes, and the repetition of their offerings. Why? What's the big deal? Why not? Why Torah couldn't say, for instance, that, each one of the 12 tribes brought exactly the same offerings, and they were blah, 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 this and this and this and this. Now, it describes each tribe by the name and the offerings they brought, because tribes are important. You see, in our modern life, the tribes has got sort of the tribal life. Oh, this is tribalism. Got a negative connotation. And this is a consequence probably of the Second World War and the Holocaust and the tribal wars between the Protestants and the Catholics and the Jews of different tribes and all of this. However, if we look at the human history, we will immediately see that initially it started from a family, then it progressed to the relationships between brothers, sisters, siblings, rivalry, and siblings' love, and finding peace between themselves. Shalom doesn't mean ongoing peace. Shalom means peace which has been achieved, negotiated, agreed, and everybody enjoys it. And this is what the family life is all about. Brothers and sisters and fight, and sometimes they disagree with each other, but then they find agreement and find love between themselves. The same as husbands and wives, right? Now, we go a little bit higher and we look at the community and the tribes. The tribes are important. Humans are a tribal animal. As a matter of fact, lots of psychologists will tell you that what Torah is talking about here is the importance of the tribes is absolutely correct, because people always seek a company of other people, community, belonging to something, belonging to some group with some ideas, like-minded people. We have got people join all sorts of clubs. If they don't have a close-knit family or a circle of friends, they join some groups. As a matter of fact, on Bondi Beach, for instance, we have got a group of colorful, closed people. They are surfists, they are young people. Every Friday they get together and they call themselves whatever, the colorful, fluorescent, surfy group, but they are basically trying to collect money against depression. Why? Because a lot of those people are lonely. And they seeking a company of other people whom they can come together with their surfboards and their colorful suits at least every Friday morning and go to water and share ideas and talk to each other. And this is what we people are. We are a tribal animal. Well, lots of political structures ignored that, actually fought that. The communists were saying, oh, no, we are all for the party, and the Communist Party is one and only organization which you will admire and belong to, and if you have got little other organizations, they must be sanctioned by us, right? And the same thing happened everywhere else. Every dictatorship is talking about only belonging to the dictator's philosophy, right? That's why people need the sense of identity which they derive from belonging to some specific group. And this is what Torah is teaching us here, that tribes are incredibly important for the development of the society and should not be ignored. I think we all want to contribute something. We want to feel loved. We want to be able to deliver something to others, whether they acknowledge it or not, it doesn't matter. We want to share our thoughts, our ideas, our perceptions. And this is what I am doing actually every week here with you guys here, sharing with you my perceptions of the Torah. Goodbye, and I will see you next time.